Walk with History today is for my friends at History Hunters. Join me today as we explore Eisenhower National Historic Site in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So here I am at the Eisenhower National Historic Site, and I am doing this for History Hunters because he had done an episode of Mamie Eisenhower writing a letter, and she wrote it from here, and he had talked about this ranch.
This episode of History Hunter's Signature Edition will take a glimpse into the correspondence of Mamie Dowd Eisenhower, America's First Lady. We'll also take a look at the life of President Eisenhower.
So this is their home that they had built in 1950. They had bought it in 1950, and he had come here to visit while he was president. He actually came here for a total of 365 days while he was president, so people gave him a hard time, especially Democrats gave him a hard time for how much time he spent here. But this was the place that he had bought with Mamie. He had promised her, since they had moved around so much because of the military, that they could have a place just for them. So they bought this ranch, and they built the home here, and they put like a skeet range here, and they have cattle, and they did some breeding, but really it was just a retreat. But he did do a lot of diplomatic meetings here. You have some famous people that have come to the Eisenhower Historic Sites. Churchill comes here, de Gaulle, President Reagan is here, and Khrushchev actually comes here as well. So this is kind of like a Camp David. Camp David is named after Eisenhower's father and his son, and it was available to Eisenhower, but he actually preferred to come here instead. So we're gonna walk up to the house. You cannot go into the house right now, but this is Eisenhower's farm. And he had this farm right beside Gettysburg, like it is right beside the battlefield. He had a history with Gettysburg. He had come here when he was a cadet at West Point. He had come here after that in 1918 to do tank training. And he had trained people here how to fight in tanks, and he was newly married, so kind of like a newlywed here. So they had good memories of being here. And when he heard that there was land available here, he thought this would be a great place for them to come to have a retreat from Washington. But also, as soon as Kennedy took over the presidency from him, this is where he came and spent the rest of his life. The last 11 years of his life he spent here. So he actually passes away here. They give it to the National Park Service to be used as a historic site like it is today. So here's the house, right here. This is the Eisenhower's home. So here's the front of the home, as you can see. Very nice. Very nice house. So I want to see if I can find where the porch is. Here I am. This is the porch. This is the porch. So Eisenhower would have dignitaries come to visit him here. Only one dignitary ever stayed overnight here. Most dignitaries, they come for just a couple hours. They fly in, I'll show you, they have a helicopter fly them in. They'll come here for a couple hours. But this is where most people would hang out. This is the family hangout spot of the Eisenhowers, and they make it kind of like a family room. And the TV is in here. They eat dinner on TV trays in here. Ike will paint sometimes in here. Mamie will have bridge games in here. So this is the family area, and they have these great mats out front. First Lady. But look at this detail. And he said the Secret Service were nervous because, you know, these are glass, so they can break easily, can be broken into. But these boxes were Secret Service boxes. But look at this. So you get one that says President Eisenhower and the other one that says First Lady. There's his putting green. And look at this beautiful view. Nice flagpole. It looks like it's the General Star flag underneath the American flag. So his stars for when he was a general in the Army. But beautiful rose garden here. the Eisenhower back porch of their farm home in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Like, this is the coolest. So I'm taking a walk out on the right side of the house here. Like, this is a nice garden. I have some friends that I know who would love to have a garden like this. Flowers and vegetable. They serve the vegetables in the home, it says here. So this is, again, the beautiful view. And receptions were held here on this lawn. It looks like just a really, really great place to entertain. But receptions were held out here when people would come to visit. I think Nixon had a reception out here, especially campaigning, things along that nature. Reagan, he was campaigning, I think, for governor of California at the time. He came out here to meet Eisenhower. Here's the back of the house with the back porch there. Oh, it says President of the United States. You see that? My shadow. Seal of the President of the United States. So here's his garage, barn area. And I'm allowed to look through these windows here. When people would fly in on the helicopters, he would bring them out to that barn because he wanted to show off his Black Angus steers, his cows and his cattle that he had raised. He wanted to show them off, of course, right? I think there's even like descriptions of him poking them with a gun to show how, you know, tight their rumps were.
Rump roast.
What steak they were about to eat. So I heard the Secret Service didn't like when he did that. This looks like the caretaker's home. Oh no, this is the guest house. If you're facing the house, it's right to the left. But here's the barn. I love old barns, so I'm gonna go walk up there. I love barns. This looks like where they would give talks and things. Awesome. I love barns. I love them. So this little house right here must be the Secret Service office. So I'm sure as you came to visit, it was like the first thing. I'm walking away from the awesome barn. It's awesome. And Secret Service Center, little guest house. Little guest house almost looked like a little school, has a bell at the top too. It's pretty cute. Cute little guest house. And then this is the area that the park ranger told me that the helicopters would fly in.
Sir Winston Churchill was Mr. Eisenhower's guest at the Gettysburg farm, where the president spends much of his time. He was shown round the estate on the golf runabout. Reports tell us they discussed the historic battle fought hereabouts in July 1853, the engagement commonly regarded as the turning point of the American Civil War. Nowadays, it is a peaceful place, and the president relaxes there from the cares of state.
When they would bring in dignitaries, only one person ever drove here, was the Prime Minister of India. He said Camp David's not too far away, like 20, 40 miles. This is where the helicopter, he said, would fly in. So that's pretty cool. There's a sign over here, so. Eisenhower referring to his first helicopter ride, the smoothest ride I ever had in my life. Now he's my favorite president.
Okay, we get it.
But here's pictures of the Army helicopter would land out here. Charles de Gaulle. And there was built no Air Force One until Nixon and Ford later. So it would be whatever was available, Marine helicopter, Army helicopter. I pretty much figured whatever was the cleanest and available. But he was the first president to travel by helicopter. 10-minute flight to the south. And this is the field where the helicopter would land. How cool is that? They had a very nice formal living room. I had read that Mamie couldn't display all of the things that she would receive and get and buy when they were traveling because military, and so things would just stay in boxes. So she had asked for a place that they could have, that she could display all of her stuff. So when they bought this place in 1950, she just wanted to take everything out of the boxes and show people like what they had acquired in their marriage. And so that's kind of what this home was for her to display everything. And there are things still in there today from that time. We're gonna walk to where he had his cows. This is where he would take people when they first got off the helicopter. He wanted to kind of brag, show off his Black Angus steers. And the dignitary who was most knowledgeable was actually Khrushchev. He was the most knowledgeable about livestock because he was prided himself on his agricultural knowledge. He, you know, came from living in the farmland in Russia, so he knew all about livestock. And so when Eisenhower showed him his Black Angus steers, he knew all about them. He knew where the cuts of beef came from on the animal and how to raise them well and what to feed them and breeding and all that. So they did all that here at breeding and raising. So from what I was told, Eisenhower didn't actually like own this. He was in a partnership with somebody and they actually took care of it, which is understandable because he's president. So it's not like he has the time to come out here but this is where they said the calves and the maternity cows would be, so probably the cows that are with calf. Pretty neat. So when History Hunters did their show about Mamie Eisenhower, who wrote her letters, she would write tons of letters from the farm. She believed that after you turned 50, a woman should not have to get out of bed until noon, which sounds like a good rule to me. And I think the letter that he had used in that show was written from here. And so he had talked about this farm. And since I was here in Gettysburg today, it's right beside the Gettysburg battlefield. And actually, it's kind of run by the Gettysburg Visitor Center. Great location, great place to see. I'm happy I got to see it. So thank you, History Hunters, for sending me on a history hunt to Eisenhower's farmhouse in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy that this area here is preserved as a National Historic Site, so you can come out and visit it right beside the Gettysburg battlefield in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining me today as we visited the Eisenhower farm in Gettysburg, PA. On to my next walk of history.